Section 22 of A Traveller's Narrative, written to illustrate the episode of the Bab. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Nicholas James Bridgewater. A Traveller's Narrative, written to illustrate the episode of the Bab, by Abdul-Baha Abbas, translated by Edward Granville Browne. Section 22. Besides this, interference with the consciences and beliefs of peoples, and persecution of diverse denominations of men, is an obstacle to the expansion of the kingdom, an impediment to the conquest of other countries, an obstruction to multiplication of subjects, and contrary to the established principles of monarchy. In the time when the mighty government of Persia did not interfere with men's consciences, diverse sects entered in and abode beneath the banner of the great king, and many different peoples reposed and served under the shadow of that mighty government's protection. The extent of the empire increased from day to day. The greater portion of the continent of Asia was under the just rule of its administration, and the majority of the different religions and races were represented amongst the subjects of him who wore its crown. But when the custom of interference with the creeds of all sects arose, and the principle of inquiring into men's thoughts became the fashion and practice, the extensive dominions of the Empire of Persia diminished, and many provinces and vast territories passed out of her hands, until it reached such a point that the great provinces of Turan, Assyria and Chaldea were lost, until, what need of prolixity, the greater part of the regions of Khurasan likewise passed out of the control of the government of Persia, by reason of the interference with matters of conscience and the fanaticism of its governors. For the cause of the Afghan independency and the revolt of the Turcoman tribes was in truth this thing, else were they at no time or period separate from Persia. In face of its evident harmfulness, what necessity is there for persecuting the harmless? But if we desire to put in force the sentence of the doctors of religion, no one will escape fetters and chains and the keenness of the sword. For in Persia, apart from this sect, there exist diverse sects, such as the Mutasharris, the Shaykhis, the Sufis, the Noseiris, and others, each one of whom regards the others as infidels and accuses them of crime. Under these circumstances, what need that the government should persecute this one or that one, or disturb itself about the ideas and consciences of its subjects and people? All are the subjects of the king, and are under the shadow of the royal protection. Everyone who hears and obeys should be undisturbed and unmolested, while everyone who is rebellious and disobedient deserves punishment at the hands of His Majesty the King. Above all, the times are completely changed, while principles and institutions have undergone alteration. In all countries, such actions hinder development and progress, and cause decline and deterioration. Of the violent agitation which has befallen the supports of Oriental government, the chief cause and principal factor are in truth these laws and habits of interference, while that state, the seat of whose dominion over the Atlantic and the Baltic is in the furthest regions of the north, has, by reason of equal dealing with its different subjects, and the establishment of the uniform political rights of diverse nationalities, acquired extensive colonies in each of the 5 continents of the world. Where is this little island in the North Atlantic, and where the vast territory of the East Indies? Can such extension be obtained save by equal justice to all peoples and classes? At all events, by means of just laws, freedom of conscience, and uniform dealing and equity towards all nationalities and peoples, they have actually brought under their dominion nearly all of the inhabited quarter of the world, and by reason of these principles of freedom they have added day by day to the strength, power, and extent of their empire. While most of the peoples on the face of the earth celebrate the name of this state for its justice. As regards religious zeal and true piety, their touchstone and proof are firmness and steadfastness in noble qualities, virtues and perfections, which are the greatest blessings of the human race, but not interference with the belief of this one or that one, demolition of edifices, and cutting off of the human race. In the Middle Ages, whereof the beginning was the time of the fall of the Roman Empire, and at the end of the capture of Constantinople at the hand of the followers of Islam, fierce intolerance and molestation of far and near arose in all the countries of Europe by reason of the paramount influence of religious leaders. The matter came to such a pass that the edifice of humanity seemed tottering to its fall, and the peace and comfort of chief and vassal, king and subject, became hidden behind the veil of annihilation. Night and day all parties were slaves to apprehension and disquietude. Civilization was utterly destroyed, the control and order of countries was neglected, the principles and essentials of the happiness of the human race were in abeyance. The supports of kingly authority were shaken, but the influence and power of the heads of religion and of the monks were in all parts complete. But when they removed these differences, persecution and bigotries out of their midst, and proclaimed the equal rights of all subjects and the liberty of men's consciences, the lights of glory and power arose and shone from the horizons of that kingdom in such wise that those countries made progress in every direction. And whereas the mightiest monarchy of Europe had been servile to and abased before the smallest government of Asia, now the great states of Asia are unable to oppose the small states of Europe. These are effectual and sufficient proofs that the conscience of man is sacred and to be respected, and that liberty thereof produces widening of ideas, amendment of morals, improvement of conduct, disclosure of the secrets of creation, and manifestation of the hidden verities of the contingent world. Moreover, if interrogation of conscience, which is one of the private possessions of the heart and the soul, take place in this world, what further recompense remains for man in the court of divine justice at the day of general resurrection? Convictions and ideas are within the scope of the comprehension of the King of Kings, not of kings. And soul and conscience are between the fingers of control of the Lord of Hearts, not of his servants. So in the world of existence, two persons unanimous in all grades of thought and all beliefs cannot be found. The ways unto God are as the number of the breaths of his creatures, is a mysterious truth, and to every people we have appointed a separate right. Note Qur'an 22:55. If this vast energy and precious time which have been expended in persecuting other religions, and whereby no sort of result or effect has been obtained, had been spent in strengthening the basis of the monarchy, fortifying the imperial throne, making prosperous the realms of the sovereign, and quickening the subjects of the king, ere now the royal dominions would have become prosperous, the seed plot of the people would have been watered by the bounty of princely justice, and the splendor of the kingdom of Persia would be evident and apparent as the true dawn throughout the horizons of the world. End of section 22.